appear to be overvalued. So that's all the knowledge of valuation that I'm presupposing. Okay. So let's talk about the first topic, earnings versus cash flows. So this is a topic that you guys are studying in FADM, right? We know that firms have two measures of performance. In my sections, at least, if you remember, we talked about the Amazon, the fact that Amazon starts with the cash flow statement and only then presents the income statement. So you have a cash flow measure of performance, cash from operations, and you have an accrual measure of performance, your net income. So the question is, from a valuation perspective, if you're a stock investor, do you care more about net income or do you care more about cash flows? Okay? Those are probably questions. So it's a question which I don't want you to. I know ISB, right? Unfortunately, the way the exam is set up is it's always multiple because you have to pick the right answer. But sometimes it's also good to think a little bit and ruminate and all that kind of thing. Okay. So I'm going to present this new research from these two scholars, Dichow paper from 1994 and Sloan paper from 1996. But before that, I want you guys to do a thought experiment. Which do you think, and why, which of these two constructs, earnings and cash flows, and cash flows I mean cash flow operations, which is the sort of cash flow analog of earnings, right? Which of those will have a stronger correlation with stock market measures of performance, like stock returns? Either current stock returns, the earnings, the stock returns in the same period as the accounting performance, or stock returns in the 1 year afterwards. Okay, so let's, with your permission, let me erase this board. And who's this prof, by the way? Beautiful handwriting. I'm jealous. Okay. Earnings, cash flows. So I'm not looking for a 0-1 answer. We're not having a vote here. Does earnings win or does cash flows win? I want you to just tell me, why do you think earnings will have a higher correlation with stock returns? And why do you think cash flows will have a higher correlation with stock returns? Yeah.
Earnings are mostly what companies report in the media, and that's a key focus area for a lot of reporters from the other side as well.
Okay, so your point is, so this could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It may be a very crappy measure, but everybody looks at this crappy measure, therefore it's correlated with stock returns. Well, it could be, yeah.
But then the analysts look at the statements, they found the cash flows, and then they give their recommendations, and then the movement should.
So analysts, what do?
After the reports come out, the analysts do the recommendations, analysis. They come up with the cash flow basis analysis, and then they say that is the company.
So you're saying analysts. So very often they sort of do DCF-based valuation and stuff. You're saying. So in a sense, the valuation, the most common method of valuation is cash flows, and therefore maybe cash flows. But I have an answer to that actually. A reply to that. Even though analysts do DCF valuations, you guys will learn forecasting and valuation when you do finance courses. Even though you're valuing cash flow, firms using cash flows, you will be forecasting those cash flows using earnings. You will not be forecasting cash flows using cash flows. So even for the cash flows, you will need earnings. Something you will realize. Yes.
Earnings are what the shareholders get in the end. So dividends are always
really?
part of the net income.
Do you get earnings? I mean, earnings is an accrual-based measure. What if I get awesome earnings this year and the earnings consist entirely of accounts receivable? Right? So
dividends are
actually earnings, shareholders get neither earnings nor cash flows. They get dividends and they may not even get dividends. So you have Amazon shareholders haven't seen a cent of dividends. That doesn't mean they haven't done well. They might just get capital appreciation. But I think you're making a point. By the way, when I reply to you, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. I'm just causing you to think about what you said. So the point you're making here is dividends come out of retained earnings, which come out of earnings. That's your point. Okay. Yep.
So in accrual method, earnings can be deceptive, but cash flow is the physical cash that is coming in.
Unless you're Satyam and stuff, in which case it wasn't. Okay, so okay. By the way, this is I don't want to slip into FADM mode. Okay, but I have, for those of you in my sections, you guys know I love to draw balance sheets. Okay, so just keep one thing in mind. You have a balance sheet here, you have assets, liabilities plus equity. You have an income statement here, right? Bottom line net income, which goes to your retained earnings, right? So just one thing in mind. If a firm is manipulating its earnings upwards, some asset is going to be manipulated upwards or some liability is going to be manipulated downwards. That's the only way. Because like I say in class, balance sheets like to balance, right? And that's the only way the balance sheet is going to balance. So if a firm is manipulating earnings upwards, it probably means it's capitalizing an expense it shouldn't capitalize. It's not taking enough depreciation, so PPD is higher, or it's not taking enough warranty expenses, therefore the warranty reserve is lower, something like that. Conversely, if they are manipulating earnings downwards. So the reason I'm saying this is, one of the assets which is manipulated could well be cash. So in the case of Satyam, the asset manipulating was cash. And they were manipulating cash through 4 bank statements. So Satyam supposedly had some $4 billion of cash when they had nothing. That $4 billion of cash was a cumulative, bogus earnings that they had accumulated over years and put it in this fake bank accounts which didn't exist. So cash can also be manipulated. Yeah.
Sometimes in cash method, the future investments that you make will not be considered, so it's a better measure of valuation. While in net income, because your expenses you tend to have poor net income results, but your future might be brighter.
Then which is okay. So So you're trying to say some expenses sort of penalize net income. So like R&D for instance, right? So and therefore it lowers net income, but your cash flows might be higher. It might better represent your future performance. Okay, let's hear some more thoughts. Yeah.
Even within the prescribed frameworks, it is possible for the firms to have some degree of control on the amount of cash inflows and outflows, whereas it's not the same for earnings. So, like you can hold back payment to a supplier just to keep your net cash inflow upwards, but you cannot do the same for earnings.
So, by the way, actually, I'm going to use your point, but use it in a different way. Accruals can be manipulated. What you're saying is cash can also be manipulated. So essentially, you guys have probably, I don't know if you've heard this expression called channel stuffing. You can essentially aggressively sell stuff to your supply chain down the line. If you're electronics, let's say you're an appliance manufacturer, you can just ship stuff out to your retailers who don't really want your stuff, but that causes your earnings or cash flows to increase. So you're not necessarily manipulating the accounting, you're manipulating the timing of transactions. So you can do that. That's called real earnings management. It's the sort of new frontier because people are paying attention to accruals-based earnings management, which to actually manipulate transactions. So here is the deal. We can go on and on, but we have time constraint. You can find good reasons for both earnings and cash flows. I'll just add one more reason. Okay, earnings are stable. Cash flows are incredibly volatile. Part of the stability is artificial. Earnings are managed to become stable. Managers move stuff around and all. But from a forecasting perspective, forecasting something that's volatile is just very, very difficult. So if your cash flows are high in any period, it could just be that the volatility was high and it was positive in your direction, right? But if your earnings was high in a period, odds are you had a good year. So from that perspective, that is something which is a positive for earnings. So the point here is, there are good arguments to be made for both sides. Does earnings matter or does cash flow matter? So this first paper by this Dichow, she actually analyzed this relationship. And it was not even close. I mean, earnings have a much stronger correlation with stock returns than cash flows do. And that's why, like for example, even if you're forecasting cash flows, you don't forecast cash flows, you forecast earnings and then you infer the cash flows from those forecasts. It's just a very, very difficult, cash flows are very noisy and they're very volatile sort of constructs, so people don't really use cash flows directly. And the first point somebody made, markets focus on earnings. Earnings, so essentially what it says is those accruals which can be manipulated by some people, on average are not manipulated. When you sell something to somebody and the person has not paid you by December 31st, accounting allows you to call it earnings, sales and therefore earnings. Cash flows forces you to subtract out increases on accounts receivable in your cash flow statement. So it's not considered a sale if it's a direct cash flow statement, and you subtract it out if it's an indirect cash flow statement. So the accruals on average do add value because the accounting system says call it a sale, but also recognize the fact that some sales may go bad, so we call it a bad debt expense, for instance. So that's the way the accounting system works. Okay, so earnings are a better measure of value added. With exception of some companies like Amazon, which focus on the cash flows mainly because the cash flows are higher, most companies focus on their earnings. And the last, and this is the point, which was the first point somebody made, markets focus on earnings. No one talks about, oh man, this firm's PC ratio is amazing, I should buy this firm. They talk about PE ratios. And no one talks about, man, today's cash flow release for this company. They say, no, this is earnings release for this firm. People are much more focused on earnings. So, based on this paper, you might come to the conclusion that, oh, you know what, earnings are the most important thing, cash flows don't matter. You'll be wrong. Okay, because the next paper, which is by Sloan, looks not on earnings versus cash flows, but looks at the relationship between earnings and cash flows. So let's say you have two firms. Both of them have high earnings, but one has high earnings and high cash flows, and the other one has high earnings and low cash flows. Which is the better firm for you to invest in? The fund with high earnings and high cash flows, because you know why? Those cash flows are not coming, or those earnings are not coming because of these accruals. They're coming with cash flow, so they are of a higher quality. So essentially, what Sloan did was he looked at this thing called accruals. He looked at how big accruals are. So for every firm, he took earnings minus cash flows and divided by assets or something, so he could scale it, compare it across firms, and said, let's look at how high accrual firms and low accrual firms perform. What he found was the high accrual firms actually earned negative returns in the following year. Low accrual firms earned positive returns. What that meant was, what is a high accrual firm? It's a firm which has lots of earnings but not that much cash flows. The thing about accruals is accruals tend to reverse. If you have a big build-up in accruals, it will reverse. So if you think about a firm's earnings, the firm's earnings will have two components. It has a cash flow component and an accrual component. Okay. This cash flow component of earnings is more robust. This accrual component of earnings tends to reverse. What he showed was markets don't understand that these two, these two components have differential persistence. And so markets just assume that these firms are all going to be same. And they're systematically negatively surprised by these high accrual firms. And they're positively surprised with the low accrual firms. Because high accrual firms had high earnings this year, but odds are some of them would have low earnings next year because the accruals are going to reverse. Similarly, the low accrual firms had low earnings this year, right? Because accruals depressed their earnings, but some of those depressed accruals are going to reverse. So these firms are going to have higher earnings next year, and we all know markets pay attention to earnings. So that's exactly what he found. So essentially, he did this long short strategy where he said, let's invest in all low accrual firms and let's short high accrual firms, and what happens. So he essentially found that if you do this long short strategy in a sample over 20 years, you basically earn massive abnormal earnings or abnormal returns. Or it's an expression that some of you who follows investing will know, you generate lots of alpha. You generate excess returns. Okay. So if you look at the implications of Sloan's work, or the reason why he shows what he says works, is because accruals tend to reverse, like I said, but markets act naively. So takeaway is While earnings on average matter more, cash flow matters on the margin. Earnings that is disassociated with cash flows is likely to be of lower quality and therefore reversed and not be sustainable. Okay. Now, in any explanation like this, whenever somebody comes up with a strategy and says, okay, I have this strategy, it's going to earn this much returns, the first question you should ask is, maybe it's not mispricing. So this is a mispricing-based explanation. Markets don't understand it, I understand it, therefore I want to make this investment and therefore I'm going to beat the market. But in addition to a mispricing-based explanation, you also have a risk-based explanation. So maybe one of the theories in finance is if you earn lots of returns, you must be taking on some additional risk. That's one of the fundamental tenets of this market efficiency. So a lot of researchers have explored this risk-based explanation and generally found that the risk-based explanation doesn't hold, is probably a market inefficiency explanation. Now the most interesting thing about the accrual anomaly is this anomaly was extremely common, at least in the US, it's probably still there in some markets in the world, but it has weakened considerably and basically disappeared since the last 10 or 15 years. So what caused a robust anomaly, which is there like in all the past data, to disappear? Now there are 2 or 3 explanations. One explanation is, once people know about something, they invest on it, and once enough people invest on it, that it goes away. Suppose there's some low-hanging fruit, eventually people are going to pluck the low-hanging fruit, and then it becomes more difficult to get the fruit. So that's basically, people found that a lot of institutional investors are trading on these accruals, and therefore the accrual anomaly has essentially disappeared. Second explanation is that in general, like if you remember, the reason why accruals also reverse is because accruals can be manipulated. But accounting standards have improved and accounting enforcement has improved in the US and worldwide. So the world has moved to IFRS. Within the US you had like accounting standards, but then you had Sarbanes-Oxley, and you had like big improvements in auditing standards and stuff. And people have found that the improvement in accrual quality has also reduced the returns-based strategies. The last thing is, and this is a paper I've done, is analysts nowadays, at least in the US, they provide forecasts of both earnings and cash flows. So let's say an analyst provides income forecast or earnings per share and also provides cash flow forecast or cash flow per share. Earlier on, if you were short of your earnings forecast, right, you could simply manipulate some accrual and get your earnings forecast. But now, analysts are forecasting both earnings and cash flows. So when you're forecasting earnings and cash flows, you're also forecasting the accruals. So the ability, the sort of moving goalposts which you could earlier on do, you don't have that ability anymore. So the ability of analysts firms to manipulate the accruals has gone down because of this oversight from analysts. So just to show you a graph, and graphs don't prove anything but they illustrate a point, is the graph in blue represents the returns to the accrual anomaly. As you guys can see, from the year around 2002, that returns has essentially gone away. It's kind of become very variable and much lower. The line in red is the proportion of analysts who also issue cash flow forecasts. So what this shows is, essentially, as the proportion of analysts who are issuing cash flow forecasts has increased, the returns to the accrual anomaly has essentially disappeared. Okay. So this is the first topic about the relationship between earnings and cash flows. So the return result and the sold result. The second topic, and this is the thing I'm going to spend the most time on, is this topic on fundamental analysis. How do you apply fundamental analysis to pick winners and losers in value stocks and growth stocks? Okay, and this is going to be based on the work of a researcher called Piotrowski, and he's a professor at Stanford, and a paper I had written many years ago. Okay, when I used to be at Columbia. Okay, so before I get into that, I just want to briefly get into what are value stocks and growth stocks. So value stocks are those stocks which have lower valuations. Okay, so generally stocks which have lower multiples. So for example, the two most common multiples people look at from valuation perspective are the price to earnings and the price to book ratio. Okay, so firms which have low PEs or low price to book ratios, okay, would be called value stocks. And firms which have high, PE and PB ratios are what we call growth stocks. So, for example, you look at Tesla right now. Tesla may not be a good example because Tesla may not even have earnings. But you look at some of these other firms; they'll have very, very high valuation ratios, right? But you look at firms which are in humdrum industries, which are not growing very fast, they will tend to have lower valuation ratios. Now, an empirical fact, okay, is, and if you're let's say, if you're not an active investor, if you're a passive investor, right, and if you want to put all your money into index funds, and you have a choice of a growth index fund and a value index fund, I don't want to think about it, you have a 10-year horizon, put it in the value fund. Okay, it will do better, for sure. Okay, essentially this is like, if you think about it, this is the Warren Buffett strategy. Take boring companies, but solid boring companies, which don't have crazy valuations, you will do well. Because here, yes, there will be the occasional Google and the occasional Facebook and firms which are like what you call multi-baggers or unicorns or whatever, but there will be lots of duds as well. So on average, you will do worse. Okay, so this effect is well known. This is referred to as the book-to-market effect. Something that when you guys study finance, you study something called the Pharma-French factor models, and this is one of the effects. The book-to-market or market-to-book is a clear separator of return. Okay, high market-to-book stocks, which are also called low book-to-market stocks or growth stocks, earn low returns. High book-to-market stocks or low market-to-book stocks called value stocks also earn high returns. Well known. Okay, but this effect is not uniform. A lot of value stocks do badly, and a lot of growth stocks do well, and some growth stocks do well. So the question to ask is, can you apply fundamental analysis or basic financial statement analysis? The ratio analysis you guys covered in class, right? In session 5 or whatever. Can you use those strategies to pick winners and losers? So this Piotrowski, this is when he used to Chicago then, he tried to apply this fundamental analysis to value stocks. So he's looking at this group, okay, low, so for these firms essentially have low valuation, and he also noticed that these firms are not in the public domain. They're not in the public eye. Analysts don't like writing reports about boring companies. Nobody likes to write Fortune or Business Week or Economic Times articles about small companies, profitable companies, which are in humdrum industries, okay? Cement, I don't know. But everybody likes to write about Tesla and Netflix. Interesting stuff, right? So what his argument was, these firms are being ignored. If you're ignored, even simple things like ratios, which should be impounded in stock prices. If you have good ratios, and the markets see your ratios, that should already be impounded in stock prices. It probably won't be impounded in stock prices because nobody has bothered to do the analysis. So he does some simple ratio analysis, and he comes up with a score. Like, are you profitable? Yes or no? Is your profitability increasing? Yes or no? Is your asset turnover increasing? Yes or no? Is your profit margin increasing? Yes or no? Some very, very basic ratios. Is your liquidity improving? Yes or no? Is your leverage coming down? Yes or no? So he's got some basic ratios which have to do with profitability, asset turnover, profit margin, liquidity ratios, solvency ratios, all that stuff. And he creates this index called F-score. So it's very simple. High F-score means that you've scored well on all his stock screens. Low F-score means you scored badly on these stock screens. And if the markets are efficient, this should have no correlation with stock returns. Because remember, it should already be impounded in stock price. You're not doing any rocket science. You're taking publicly available information and you're creating an index from that. But if on the other hand, markets are not impounding this information, this should lead to future stock returns. So he does his F-score, he does the same long-short thing. Let's go long in high F-score firms, let's go short in low F-score firms. And what does he find? Again, he finds that his F-score strategy is extremely successful in separating winners from losers. And even now, you take any US ticker, this is a very, very highly cited paper, You can Google, you can use the stock ticker and put Piotrowski F score. You'll find information about this F score for some firms, and many investors use this index. Okay, so if you think about his results, he has shown that basically fundamental analysis is extremely important for value stocks because these stocks are ignored. And remember, as a whole, these firms have low valuations. So in this universe of firms that have low valuations, he's saying these are firms which don't deserve low valuations, they should have higher valuations. Okay, so he helps to identify what I would call diamonds in the rough. So these firms have rough valuations, they have low valuations, but some firms deserve much better valuations, and so he says these are the firms you should buy. Also, remember I told you that these firms as a whole do well, and these firms as a whole do badly. So if you look at the market, right, on average this group might beat the market by 5%, and this group might be 5% lower. What he does is, he takes this 5% and says, you know what, of this 5%, I will show you some firms which are going to earn 15% over the market. And on the other hand, some firms are going to earn minus 5%. So if you think about it from the perspective of a long investor versus a short investor, most of his returns are coming from the long side. He's finding undervalued firms which you can buy and make positive returns on. Okay, because these firms are, we know as a group they do reasonably well, value stocks. Okay, now my paper looks at the exact opposite group. I'm looking at these guys. I'm looking at firms which have incredibly high valuations to begin with. And we know as for a fact that many of these guys do poorly. So for every Google out there, there's a bunch of firms which are going to crash and burn because they don't have a lot of money in a few years, okay, after their IPO or whatever. So I take this Piotrowski's approach and I sort of modify it for the growth investing space. In the interest of time, I'm not going to get into the details of what goes into my index. You should probably look into it a little later once you've had some more like courses under your belt. But I modify this fundamental analysis to be tailored for growth stocks. So I focus not just on profitability, I also focus on like profit stability of growth. I focus on accounting issues like, are you investing in R&D and advertising and so on and so forth. But I create this index called G-score, and I do the same thing, long short. Long in the high G-score firms, short in the low G-score firms. And you will see my results are also extremely strong. I find that this strategy is very successful in separating like winners from losers. The one difference is, Piotrowski starts off with +5 and becomes a +15 and a -5. I start off with -5 and I become a +5 and a -15, let's just say. So if you really want to make money on my strategy, you go to short. Because otherwise the upside is like, the firms already have incredibly high valuations. So if you use an analogy, right, he identifies diamonds in the rough, right? These firms have rough valuations and a few of them are diamonds. Problem is these groups all have diamond valuations. I am identifying real diamonds versus cubic zirconia or American diamonds or whatever they call it, right? So these are the fake diamonds. So essentially to make money on the strategy, you need to have the ability to short. So obviously what this means is that while Piotrowski's results may make or have direct implications for any investor, including an individual investor, my paper will have implications much more for the institutional investor, hedge funds and all, who have the ability and the willingness and the risk appetite to short. Okay, so that is the second topic. Now, very briefly, I'm going to talk about the third topic, which is how do you use formal valuation methods to identify winners and losers. So this is a paper by this researchers called Frankel and Lee. So Charles Lee is a professor at Stanford. He's like one of those legendary professors. He used to also he worked in I think Barclays Global for a few years in between, took a break. And so essentially what these guys come up with, they use an accounting-based valuation model. And some of you who take financial statement analysis and valuation or whatever the course is called here we'll learn about this model which is referred to as the residual income model or abnormal earnings valuation model. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the details of the model, it's going to take me a full class. So essentially he uses this model along with forecasts of earnings which analysts provide, and for every firm he comes up with an estimate of V. Like this is what the stock ought to be worth using this model, okay? And then he simply calculates his ratio called V to P. So if this ratio is high, it means this firm is probably undervalued, right? If the value is high relative to price, that's the kind of stock you want to buy. If the V to P ratio is low, it's the kind of stock you want to sell. So he essentially does this V to P strategy, and he essentially shows that this V to P strategy is extremely successful in identifying winners and losers. Okay, I'm not going to talk much more about this because I'm going to move on to the next topic, which essentially tries to combine this VP approach with this F-score, D-score thing we just talked about. Okay, so if you think about what this his model does, is it shows that these formal valuation models which you will study when you get whether it's DCF or RIV or whatever, can help identify overvalued and undervalued stocks. But there are some constraints. Like one constraint is to estimate this V, you need forecasts of EPS1 and EPS2 and all that stuff, which means you need analyst forecasts. And the problem is only around half of all firms will have analyst forecasts. Only the larger, more liquid firms will have analyst forecasts. Many firms will not have analyst forecasts. And also, the second problem is, I don't know if this is telling you the same thing as F-score or G-score, or is it telling you different things. So the next topic which I'm going to talk about is how do you combine these FSA approaches to these formal valuation approaches. So if you think about the FSA approaches, F-score and G-score I talk about, those are ratio analysis driven approaches, right? You're looking for firms with good ratios. This is a valuation driven approach. You're looking for firms with good valuation. Now, I want to ask a question for you guys. So I have these two approaches, right? One of them is and both of them work. If you identify good firms, on average good firms will earn higher returns than not so good firms because the goodness has not been perfectly incorporated into valuation by the markets. And also this VP stuff works. On average, the firms which have lower valuations will do better than firms which already have very high valuations. Okay. Now, can you combine these two things? Because one thing you'll realize is quality and cheapness are negatively correlated, right? So, generally speaking, high quality stuff tends to be a little more expensive. Low quality stuff tends to be crappy. Tends to be cheaper. So as an investor, what do you want? Right? So you think about your own shopping habits, right? So you want to go to a good store and buy a good quality brand but on sale. Right? Because then you are essentially getting the quality but you're paying less for it. So you should have the same sort of approach towards investing. You should want to buy a high quality stock whose valuation appears reasonable. On the other hand, you should short a stock which either has low quality and highly priced. So that's the best kind of one to short. Okay. So just show you some results from this paper of mine. The last paper, which is like forthcoming, it's like it just got accepted recently. So I estimate this F-score and G-score for all firms, and then I estimate some forecasts to calculate this BP and PEG. PEG ratios are another measure we use for valuation. You cover that later on. To identify cheap stocks. So the first thing is, are these methods the same, or are they looking at different sides of the coin? Now it turns out these methods are not the same. So this is a correlation matrix. If you look at F-score and G-score, they are highly correlated because they are still similar. They're both financial statement based measures of trying to identify good quality stocks. But look at the correlation between F-score and VP. And look at the correlation between G-score and VP. The correlation is negative. So what it's saying is, on average, when you're trying to identify good quality stocks, you're also going to identify more expensive stocks. Because they will tend to, markets are not completely idiotic, okay? On the other hand, when you try to identify cheaper stocks, you will tend to get slightly lower quality stocks. Because that's why they're cheaper. But you want to focus on the intersection of these two. You want stocks which are both cheap and reasonably good quality to buy, and you want stocks which are both fully priced and low quality to short. So that's what I do in this paper. We kind of show this when you combine these two strategies. I really apologize for small font. These are the individual strategies: the F score, the G score, let's focus on the VP. F score and G score are measures of quality. VP is measure of cheapness. These are what we call long short strategy. The quintile 1 means the lowest level of F score. Quintile 2 is the middle. Quintile 3 so and so. Quintile 5 is the top F score. I want you guys to look at one thing. As F score increases, right, the quality is getting better. But as F score increases, VP is decreasing. And it's even more stark for G score. As G score is increasing, VP goes down quite dramatically. So essentially, your high F score and high G score firms are very expensive. So essentially, when you combine them, what I show is when you combine these two approaches, your hedge returns become really strong. So essentially, what this is telling you is you should be using the same approach you do for shopping for clothes or shopping for electronic items or whatever. You should use a similar approach for buying stocks as well. Don't just, for example, don't get enamored by the company and say that I love Tesla. Tesla's awesome. They're going to rule the world. Probably. But if they rule the world, but the pricing has already captured the fact that the ruling the world has been built into the pricing, then there's no upside. It's only downside, as you can see what's been happening in Tesla recently, right? So that's fundamentally the idea of this paper. So trying to combine this notion of cheapness as well as quality. And so just to show you, this is you can't see much in the graph, and I just have a minute more or whatever. This is the returns to the individual strategies across time, F score, G score, VP, and this fourth thing for PEG. But when you combine them, you'll notice that in general they all increase and they become much less variable. The early one had lots of negative returns, now there's hardly any negative returns. The last point I will make is in general, and this is a mystery to people who are analyzing capital markets, the ability of all these signals to generate returns has declined in the last 10 or 15 years. In general, return predictability has declined. And that's something that a lot of researchers in both accounting and finance are trying to kind of grapple around. Okay, but I'm just going to skip a few slides. So fundamentally, I show that all these strategies essentially work well, but when you combine quality with a measure of cheapness, quality for cheap, that's what generates the maximum returns. And we essentially show that the stuff is significant. It works for all different kinds of firms. It works for risk adjustment. It's persistent across time, although it's weakened recently. That's what we found. Okay. So just to conclude, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in a couple of minutes if you have any. Stock picking is an art. Okay. Some people pretend it's a science, but it's really there's a lot of guesswork involved. So practitioners will use a variety of different approaches. One approach is, you could use the financial information, you could use your own in-depth knowledge of the industry, of the sector, of the firm, and so on and so forth. So academic research, these approaches like this F score and this VP and all these things can help you guide which 100 firms should I look at as potential targets. So these firms to me appear to be slightly undervalued. These firms appear to be slightly overvalued. But then what you do with it is entirely up to you. If you're a quantitative investor, you just approach that strategy and say, okay, I'm going to create a portfolio, I'm going to go long these 100 stocks, I'm going to go short these 100 stocks. If you have that kind of an approach, even if one or two stocks go wrong, it doesn't matter because on average you're diversified. But the other approach is you could take this sort of approach and go in depth and say, okay, you know what, I've looked at it in depth and these 4 or 5 are my best candidates. Where you have to invest a lot more time on figuring out what is specific and what's happening to this particular stock. Why might this ratio actually not be indicative of their performance and so on. Okay. So what I've tried to do in this presentation is just give you a sense of how academic research in accounting and finance can help you broadly in this area of valuation and picking stocks to invest in. So I'll end there. We're already 5 minutes over, but I think we can squeeze out another 5 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free. Yeah.
The correlation matrix that you showed us, why
Yeah.
was that not symmetric